If you get your conventional tofu here and you serve it in Asia, nobody would eat it, simply because it's not delicious. So what I'm trying to do is to make a tofu that the Asians in Asia would eat. My name is Min Tsai. I'm the founder of Hodo Soybeanery in Oakland, California. In order for tofu to really take hold in the US, I think there should be more people educating the mass, the public, about how tofu is made and what good quality tofu is. Hodo Soybeanery is an artisanal tofu company. We started 5 years ago with the idea of creating the best tofu you've ever eaten. And here we are. So I'm about to walk you through the tofu making process. We start with organic, non-GMO soybeans that we soak overnight. We're about to grind these into a slurry, and then we cook that slurry to make tofu. So follow me. I grew up in Vietnam, and every day my grandfather would take me to a local tofu shack to get hot soy milk and fresh tofu. And so when I became a foodie here in California, I couldn't find the same quality of tofu. And so I decided to make it myself and introduce it to my friends, and eventually it blossomed into a business. You can see we ground the beans into a thick slurry here. Once we get the slurry, we pump it up into our cooking tank. We want to cook the soy milk for a long time at high temperature to break out all that protein to make for better and easier digestion. We cook it up to 100 degrees Celsius, which is 200 plus degree Fahrenheit, and with the pressure it goes above 300 degrees. So it really breaks out all the protein. Once it finishes cooking, we have two separators. Once the milk is separated from the pulp, we have a holding tank here. This is our fresh soy milk. That is the foundation of everything we make here. It's the fresh soy milk. It's a thick soy milk, it's very rich. That's the milk we bottle. That's the milk we use to make tofu, yuba, silken tofu, everything. And you know, if your ingredient is good and you don't skim on quality, it should be really good tofu. So the milk will get pumped over to the coagulation unit, and that's where the calcium sulfate will mix with the fresh soy milk to get us the curd. And once we get the curd, we break the curd and we put it into the tofu molds, and these molds will get us into the right shape, and then we press it to get the right texture. And the texture will depend on the firmness and the weight that we put on that tofu. We're currently making firm tofu right now. The science is really important. If you understand the science, then you understand the texture, the flavor. It's not easy to make good tofu. There is an element of art, but a lot of it is science. There you have it, tofu making. If you go to Asia, you won't find tofu that sits on the shelf for 90 days. You find tofu that's made the same day, consumed the same day, and this is particularly true of Japan. So what we're trying to do here is duplicate something that's been made in a very similar way for thousands of years. Made fresh, eaten fresh. So as far as I know, there's really nobody out there that makes the type of tofu we make, and especially nobody making yuba. So this is very much a traditional way of making yuba. Yuba is essentially the sashimi of tofu. It's the purest form of tofu. You don't need to coagulate it with anything. You're looking at this sheet. This is the protein and the fat of tofu, of soy milk. Just like if you get a bottle of organic rich milk, the cream rises to the top. This is essentially the cream of soy milk. How you extract the yuba is you keep this milk heated at a low temperature, a low heat. And over a course of 3 to 5 minutes, a sheet would form. Essentially, this is the holy grail of tofu making, in that in Asia, people have tried to mechanize this process for hundreds of years without success. You know, There is no machine to make this. This is the only way you can make this delicious product called yuba. And that's why it's truly a labor of love. So we're the only organic tofu yuba producer in the US. Tofu was made popular here in the 70s. But unfortunately, the way we cook tofu here is we like to grill it, we like to smoke it. So over time, people here tend to eat just firm tofu or extra firm tofu. And those are exactly the type of tofu that's not eaten in Asia, because firm and extra firm tofu is very difficult to flavor. At least in the Bay Area, people are getting the differences between our tofu and what's out there. And a lot of people, once they eat our tofu, they really cannot go back to eating other tofu. It's kind of like eating fresh bread. Once you eat it, it's hard to buy stale bread or bread in the store. Yeah, you know, it's not rocket science. It's just a really good way of producing a food that most people don't know how it is made. So that's why we have tours and we have classes, and we want to open it up and educate people about it. I would love to be in the East Coast. I think if the opportunities arrive in the East Coast, I'll be there in a heartbeat. I spent 10 years in New York. I love to get back out there and build a Hodo soybeanery out there. So keep an eye out. I think we'll be there in the next couple of years.